My name is Jerry Martin and I'm 76 years of age. I'm retired 26 years out of Dublin Fire Brigade, but as such I haven't retired yet. I still do a lot of work.
Okay.
I drive trucks across Europe, I drive coaches on coach tours, and I'm down here in the shed, which is a great pastime for anybody who is lost for something to do, I can tell you.
Martin Bourne, and I'm 63 years of age.
Okay.
You reckon I'm the youngest here in the men's shed?
And what does it feel like? What's it like being the youngest in the men's shed?
Well, you're picking up experience, aren't you, from the experienced lads, you know?
That again.
Well, the main thing is that I just found that life is just a fine line for everybody. And as you get older, and some of young people as well, learn how to just keep people on the straight and narrow in life.
Jerry Dornan, and I'm only 67. Well, your health is your wealth anyway. You learn that when you become 60 or maybe 50. Well, I think just be honest to yourself, be honest to everybody else. There's no point in, for example, going to bed with a grudge or anything like that. Just I think honesty is the best in life and in work or in relationships or in business. Yeah. Be honest and you'll be rewarded.
Jim Heenahan, and I come from South Mayo, Irishtown, County Mayo, and I was born there 82 years ago, and grew up on a small farm, and that was, even though a lot of city folk would consider people who came from an agricultural background to be lacking in whatever. But the opposite is the Yanks done a survey one time, and they discovered that those who came from an agricultural background were far more adaptable, far easier to get on with, and to make use of whatever that was available to them. Even if it was in a factory they were working.
Yeah.
They were better at picking up, making use of whatever was available to them, and if something broke down, they fixed it and got going and kept going. Others would sit down and have someone else have to come and sort them out.
Yeah.
But those were more adaptable.
Malcolm Hill, and I have to stop and think, 75, heading on 76.
75. And how are you enjoying retirement? I presume you are retired, or
Oh, long time, yeah. I retired when I was 58. I closed my business up when I was 58. It just circumstances. I wasn't going back to school. Things were changing. I was in the TV service business, so TVs were changing. There weren't TVs any longer, and it was time for me to get out of it. Okay. And I packed it in and just changed my life. I changed my experiences. I didn't really get paid any longer until I got the old age pension, but I struggled through, and I always had something to do.
Well, I never envisaged retirement. Even though I did retire out of the fire service, it was never my intention to retire as such, because I had other things to do in my life.
I had a business, a music retail business in Bray, and when that closed in 2010, I started applying for jobs, and the one thing you couldn't do was even get an interview.
I don't walk away from people that might be needing a little bit of encouragement, or,
Everything on that bit of land had to be fed from the land. He said if you were feeding cattle and you were buying stuff, the feed for them from a shopkeeper, the shopkeeper had more out of the cattle than what you had. And the women, not just my mother, everyone else at the time, when they went shopping, they had probably brought a basket of eggs to the shop, and they were selling them, and they got a few shillings for them, not a whole lot, but that came off the bill. And then they were only buying tea and sugar and maybe an odd pot of jam, and they weren't buying bread. They were making their own butter, they were making their own bread, and they were making their own cereals. And if there was the cereal was those days, there was no such thing as muesli or anything like that. The cereal would be porridge, which they grew, and the oatmeal they grew, and they would send a couple of bags of oats to a mill to be ground into oatmeal. And so and then there was a fishful that was put into the bread. All the bread was baked on the fire, and So that was how they had pigs, and they had hens, and they had ducks, and they had geese, and they had turkeys as well. So the idea was you had to have a bit of everything in those days. There was no ready market for anything.
I spent a lot of time on my own, and it was a big learning curve in that end of things, which I enjoyed much more so than fixing TVs, I can assure you.
I drove tower cranes, I drove mobile cranes, I did tours with coaches, I drove across Europe driving trucks, and I'm still available to do that any day of the week.
I mean, I had 30 years experience of managing business. They wouldn't even give me an interview. So I know but that's the way it was, that's the way it is.
There wasn't a job to be got. See, everyone had a bit of land. And if you didn't have a bit of land to live on, there was no other ways of making a living. You got an odd bit of casual work here and there. You could be maybe working for a builder building houses, but you might get a couple of months in the summer, and there was no continuity. So it was a matter of having to get away from most of it. Like any time there was, the farms were only small. See, we had 25 acres, and that was more than what most of them had down there. And there was only a living for one family in that small farm. So if there was more than one kid, everyone else had to go. So I was the eldest, and I toddled off because I had a brother and sister at home behind me. So where would they? If I didn't go, they'd have to go.
Yeah.
So I opted to go. And I went off to England, and I was just a general dog's body for a couple of years, and then I started working as a carpenter, and I've been doing it for years after that.
And I firmly believe in young people getting outside the house. But it's that 10 minutes that to say, I wouldn't be bothered changing my clothes, not the humour. And if you get a mentality of getting up and doing that, when you come back, you feel for hours on end a lot better person for it.
I was married. My first wife passed away 8.5 years ago with the dread of all women, breast cancer. And I met a lady about 6 years ago, and we got married recently in Nashville. Well, life today for me is much easier than what it was when I got married first and I had a family. You were working every hour God sent you for those kids. But nowadays, I don't have to do that. So life is much easier that way.
You have to have a reason to get up out of bed in the morning. If you don't have a reason to get out of bed, you're in trouble. That's my philosophy on that one. Yeah. You must have a reason to get up. Yeah, I have to get up.
Yeah.
And I enjoy getting up in the morning. Sometimes I'd prefer to lie there, but
yeah.
I've always got up early. I've always got up and got out and done
I think that's
something,
crucial, isn't it? Absolutely is.
So I go for a swim a couple of mornings a week.
Do you go down to the beach?
No, too cold, I'm afraid.
yeah.
No, I go to the swimming pool 3 mornings a week.
Brilliant.
And I'm there at 8 o'clock or thereabouts, so it gives me a reason to get up as well.
Yeah.
Life is busy.
Yeah.
A cup of tea is always there on the pot.
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea. I know a few lads that, they do it a little bit of a perking up. It's like, come down and even for 20 minutes, the lads are great. Have a chat and all,
It's great to have
That's
that.
it,
One thing my late father told me, the world doesn't know you're living. So you've got to go and make it yourself. You will achieve anything you set out to do if you work hard enough at it.